Hey guys, this is Nathan and welcome to the Gaming 4. Today in this Unturned map review, we're going to be covering a map called Location Woodlands. Now this map scored 78 out of 100, and although its name is kind of unusual, the map itself is not really unusual. So anyway, let's start by going over some of the strength of this map, and then we'll go over some of the weaknesses. So similarly to the last map we did, one of the main strengths of this map was the amount of vehicle maintenance gear, and you were able to find that throughout the entire map, and definitely once you got a vehicle, there was definitely enough to take care of it pretty easily. Also, there's a very good amount of food and clothing so that basic survival needs are sort of taken care of, and the extra clothing you find can easily be turned into bandages. In addition to that, there was actually pretty good scaling in terms of the rarity of clothing. I know some maps they just sort of bundle all the clothing together as in one rarity, but this map it was actually a little bit harder to find some of the more valuable pieces of clothing when compared to some of the less valuable pieces of clothing. So this just made it overall a little bit more challenging, although you do have plenty of those resources provided for you. Another thing relating to some of the item spawns is that everywhere throughout the map you always found a good amount of spawns, and a lot of them were really valuable and made sense for the area that you were exploring. This really rewards the players to explore the entire map and to visit every single location, and actually as a result most areas were very worth visiting. No area of the map was useless in terms of item spawns, which made the raiding aspect of surviving a lot better and a lot more enjoyable. In addition to the existing spawns and just the quality and overall amount of them, this map also included a couple types of spawns that a lot of other maps lack. Specifically, that is dead zone gear as well as weapon attachments. In a few places I actually found resources for dead zone gear, and because of that I was actually able to explore the dead zone during our playtime and testing of the map. Though regardless, just having the spawns in the map in the first place tells us that you're at least thinking about it and will provide those options for the survivor. Also, the inclusion of attachments really helps the gunplay part of the surviving because it allows you to customize the guns that you enjoy and actually make them better and more effective and easier to use. So that really just makes parts of the survival a bit more satisfying. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the strength of the map. Obviously there's a couple other things I could have mentioned, but those are the main ones that I really felt stuck out about this map. So let's move on to some of the weaknesses and let's discuss some of the ways that this map could be improved. And for those of you that are currently working on maps, maybe it'll give you some ideas of what things to avoid or maybe implement in order to avoid some of the issues that we find in some of these maps. So one of the obvious issues, and something that's actually pretty easy to fix but pretty hard to implement at the same time, was just a general lack of detail throughout the entire map. Now the detailing wasn't bad, I would consider it about average, but of course this is one of the things that you can always work on, always improve, try to get more creative and become more familiar with the objects so your detailing overall looks better for the player that is exploring your map. Something else that was overall kind of lacking and actually took a decent hit out of the entire score of the map was the amount of locations fit into this area. Now this was a normal map, and because of the spread of the locations, there were no parts of the map that really seemed dull, that didn't really have a purpose, but overall you could have fit a few more locations into the map. Whether or not they're larger locations, that's up to you. If they were, you'd probably have to rearrange the cities to where they're equidistant from each other and you're not really cramping too much onto one area of the map. But even the smaller locations, maybe Easter eggs, cave systems, little huts, little camping sites in the woods, anything to break up the areas of landscape where the player has something more to think about than just walking through hills full of trees. And of course this is something that can be added after the release of the map. It's not like a super fundamental thing. You can just go back in and flatten out some areas and add a few more locations here and there. It will take some touch up, some redoing of some of the landscape, but it's definitely viable after your map has been released. In terms of the item spawns, there was one main thing that was lacking, and that was the amount of ammo drops for the weapons that he included. Now we did find some decent weapons, and that was actually quite refreshing, and also the attachments for those weapons were great as well, but the overall ammo that you needed to use them effectively and consistently while raiding certain harder areas of the map or even fighting off a mega zombie, we would not have had close to enough ammo to even fight off a mega zombie for the entire time that we played on the map. And this is partially due to the lack of locations as well. The more locations you have, the more chances you have to spawn ammo, so that's kind of related to it as well. But overall it just needed a lot more ammo. Lastly, we come to one of the main issues of the map, which was overall the theme, which also played into the landscape. The landscape itself was not really significant. There were a few caves included into some of the cities and stuff like that, and the caves were decently done, but there were some areas that definitely needed some work, some little pet peeve things that were just off, that as a map maker, if you really care about the detail and quality of your work, you'll definitely stop and redo it and get it to where it's perfect. But overall the theme of the map was pretty boring. There wasn't really anything that stood out about it. It was just sort of like a wooded area, something similar to a Washington feel kind of map. Now definitely I didn't have an issue with most of the materials used or anything like that, but I think there there needed to be some larger features to your map, some overall theme that really enhanced it in some way for the survivor. From an external viewpoint, it seems like another generic Unturned survival map. So maybe when creating your next map, try to think of something that would set this map apart from the others, maybe a unique theme, maybe a unique material set, something that just really makes it stand out in some way. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for this map review. Obviously this map was pretty decent. It was actually not too hard to survive on, and we had some good fun, you know, exploring the locations in the map. I think one of the main strong points of this map was the item spawns and the balancing, and the fact that in the more difficult areas there's actually better item spawns. It made the survival and the raiding really rewarding when you put the work into getting to a cool or unique location and then actually making it valuable for the survival aspect when you pick up some good gear in those locations. So anyway, very good job. Obviously, if you guys are interested in this map, there will be a link to it in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you want to see some more. I will see you all later.